David Grusch refutes the Black Vault's allegations and more. We've got a lot more to talk about today, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, let's just get right to it. I don't know if you saw the news. I didn't cover it because I wanted to wait and hear what Dave had to say for himself before covering it, and I'm glad I did. A few days ago, the Black Vault made some allegations against David Grusch, saying that he had been lying about how long he had been involved with UFOs or U.A.P. David Grusch said he had only recently relatively gotten into UFOs. Well, the Black Vault came out saying, oh, actually, he had been involved with UFOs for 15 or more years. And thus, Dave is a liar, and everything he says is suspect. But per Mike Colangelo, a new statement from David Grusch. The interview reports that I've been studying U.A.P. for 15 years. I have not. Dave Grusch also says that the interviewer misconstrued his time in service and cadet service. Full statement below. I received this email from Ross Coulthart after inquiring about the 15-year discrepancy regarding Mr. Grusch's interest in the UFO topic. This is in reference to the 2021 interview between David Grusch in the DoD IG. The document was published by the Black Vault through FOIA and posted on Friday, January 12th, 2024. On record comment. The DoD IG FOIA released to Black Vault today highlights an organization proposal to succeed UAPTF that myself and my colleagues developed on our own time before the Aero office was created. Not only did I brief DoD IG evaluations team on this proposal, but I also presented the same chart deck to Senator Harry Reid in April 2021 in a personal capacity for his guidance. He was very enthusiastic on the idea of a national space lab to receive records and UAP material from executive branch agencies who would then federate it out to academia and other partners in a whole government approach. He was going to use the OSAR proposal as a basis of his next discussion with President Biden. The interview reports that I've been studying UAP for 15 years. I have not and may have misconstrued my total time in uniform service, cadet plus commissioned officer at the time. And then Mike says, for clarity, I asked Ross Coulthart if David Grusch meant he misconstrued his duration of service for the interviewer. Ross says the interviewer misconstrued David Grusch's time in service and cadet service. Major Grusch stated that, redacted, he stated that he has been studying UAPs for 15 years and that he serves as the NRO liaison to the UAP task force. So that was the allegation, right? And John Greenwald of the Black Vault says, where was this originally published? I do not see it on Ross Coulthart's page or feed. Mike responds, I wanted to ask David Grusch about the 15-year discrepancy from the FOIA document you released. I'm clearly not a journalist, so I have no idea what I'm doing. I sent Ross Coulthart a DM and he replied with the statement above. Thought that was better than speculating. I don't know if the statement has been published anywhere before. Ross did say David Grusch already issued the statement and I was welcome to share it. That's all I know. So there you go. The Black Vault, I really respect the work he's done on these FOIA requests, but he likes to throw shade at people like Lou Elizondo and David Grusch, and that's unfortunate. In other news, we have an update on James Fox. He says, just wanted to give you all a quick update. I'm in the process of getting the rights to my films back at a huge price. So they are being pulled from all various platforms and therefore might be extremely hard, if not impossible, to find right now. That's a bummer. Sit tight. We'll remedy this as quickly as possible. And again, thanks to each and every one of you for your support. Your support means the world to me. Well, your films are so important, James. I hope that you're able to get all this resolved in a satisfactory way that's fair to you, and that you get the rights back and go forward in a good footing. Here's wishing you well, James. But yeah, there you go. That's an update on what's going on with James Fox, trying to get the rights to his films back, because as most of you are probably aware, he's been undergoing some struggles with the production company. Yesterday, I reported on the Jon Stewart story about the firefight between the JSOC and the Lockheed Martin UFO crash retrieval teams battling over the Lockheed Martin UFO. Crazy story. So what does the government know? What do the private contractors know? How compartmentalized is this? Well, Tim Burchett, after coming out of the David Grusch skiff, is talking about the compartmentalization. Let's give a listen.
Brothers and sisters who worked at the lab did not know because of that compartmentalization, and that's carried over into this. So, say it was a recovered craft in 1947 at Roswell, New Mexico. Every person that was involved in that is dead now. And it's been passed on and passed on and passed on. And now with these private contractors who you and the press and we as Congress cannot access because they're not under FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, because they have passed it on to a private contractor. And is that by design? I don't know. But I still think we need to ask some questions and we need to know some answers.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely need to know some answers because we don't have those answers. And the information from Jon Stewart just raises more questions, really. Because, partly because of the compartmentalization, but also because of the disconnect between the private part of the UFO control group and the government part of the UFO control group. Now, clearly there is an interaction. Lockheed Martin helped build Area 51. They were working with beings back in the late 50s or early 60s. Presumably, the government was part of that as well. But at a certain point, did they split ways? And Lockheed Martin went on their own way and developed their own ships without the knowledge of the government. It's really weird. It's really weird. And how much does that have to do with compartmentalization? All of that is unclear, and another reason why we need answers. I also wanted to highlight this comment from Tim in another interview the same day.
Until we get some answers. We got some pretty definitive stuff that I'm sure y'all get from somewhere else about what.
So yeah, there you go. They got some definitive stuff out of the skiff. They learned something definitive, something that may have cemented some opinions or changed the minds of others. And he says you might be able to get this information elsewhere. So I'm really curious where that elsewhere might be. Who could spill the beans on a skiff? I can't wait to find out more about these definitive answers that the Congress people got in that skiff. If nothing else, we know that multiple of the Congress people that came out of that skiff were talking about the cover-up and how they know now that there is indeed a cover-up and that the intelligence community seems to be part of that. Meanwhile, here's a road to disclosure map that one of my viewers sent me, and he wishes to remain anonymous, but I thought I would share it with you. He's got a timeline of some of the important events in ufology. From the 1947 Roswell incident to the 1950 the Lubbock lights. If you're not aware of, the residents in Lubbock, Texas reported seeing a formation of lights in the sky, leading to extensive investigations. In 1952, of course, we've got the Washington, D.C. UFO flyovers. Fascinating incident. And of course, we got Blue Book from 52 to 69. The disinformation campaign. Designed to mollify the American public and debunk all the UFO incidents while secretly gathering information about UFOs. The Antonio Vilas Boas abduction. Brazilian farmer Antonio Vilas Boas claimed to have been abducted by ET beings in 57. In 61, we've got Betty and Barney Hill abduction, one of the most famous abduction events of all time. I think that, maybe only Travis Walton or probably Whitley Strieber, since he's got a movie, are probably more famous. I would put, Whitley and Betty and Barney, as probably the most famous, and then Travis Walton right after them. But yeah, the 1964 Socorro incident, when a great case, Lonnie Zamora, a police officer in Socorro, New Mexico, reported observing an egg-shaped craft and small beings near the landing site. One of the best, most credible accounts. Pascagoula abduction, 1973. Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker reported being abducted by aliens while fishing near Pascagoula, Mississippi. And that's another great case. And there are apparently some other witnesses that saw activity around that same time corroborating their account, which is really interesting. And they didn't have a real pleasant experience either. Things stuck up their nose and yeah. And of course, 1977, Travis Walton abduction. He alleged that he was abducted by a UFO while working in Arizona's Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. And, another great case with multiple witnesses that saw him being taken. He was taken for multiple days, and he was taken for so long the police thought his friends, his fellow lumberjacks, had murdered him and commenced a murder investigation. But he wasn't murdered. He was taken by the beings. 1980, Rendlesham Forest, another great case. 1989, the Belgium UFO wave, a really intriguing series of UFO incidents in Europe. A series of UFO sightings over Belgium, including police officers, led to extensive investigations. Yeah, many people were seeing these things. It was a huge thing in Belgium in 1989. A great series of cases, huge event, seemed to be some sort of disclosure type event, like the Phoenix Lights, some sort of mass sighting incident. 1989, Bob Lazar came out. 1991, the Gulf Breeze. Ed Waters, a Gulf Breeze, Florida resident, claimed to have multiple sightings and encounters with UFOs. 1994, the Ariel School incident, of course, great case. 1997, the Phoenix Lights. USS Nimitz and UFO incident, 2004. 2006, the O'Hare Airport incident, a really fascinating case where there's a UFO hanging out over O'Hare, and then of course the Men in Black went around deleting everybody's photos of it, as they do, and as they may have done in Miami the other day, or not, who knows. 2013, the citizen hearing, is that Greer's hearing? I believe so. I think he had another one in 2001. 2017, TTSA, of course, hugely important in all of this. They're the ones that released those videos, those 3 videos that Lou and Chris smuggled out of the government legally, sneakily, but legally. And then, of course, the all-important New York Times article. And 2018, The Hunt for the Skinwalker. I would actually not include the documentary on this. It's much more, it's the book that's the important thing. Now, the book, I think, is what James Lakatsky saw that got his interest in Skinwalker Ranch, which led to the creation of OSAP and ATIP and the release of those 3 videos. But absolutely, The Hunt for the Skinwalker and the work by George Knapp needs to be referenced because George Knapp is hugely important in the road to disclosure, which really begins with Skinwalker Ranch. I got in an argument with somebody, one of the viewers the other day, saying that I was ignorant for saying that the road to disclosure began with Skinwalker Ranch because of all the giants of ufology that came before. And of course, there were many giants of ufology that came before, and it's not to discredit any of them, but the road to our current pass of UFO disclosure, the Schumer-Rounds Amendment, etc., all began with Skinwalker Ranch, and specifically with the phenomenon revealing itself to James Lakatsky, intentionally. 2019, Storm Area 51. Yeah, that was a colorful one. 2020, the Pentagon UFO Task Force, or the U.A.P. Task Force. 2021, the U.S. government UFO report. Then 23, we got David Grusch. Anyway, so a great timeline, compiled by a viewer, and I can't name the viewer, but thank you very much. I think this is really cool and really well done, and some nice visuals too. Meanwhile, check this out. This is something that's going around Twitter the last couple of days. This comparison between this image of a being supposedly captured during a Stephen Greer CE5 event, and this being the entity that appeared to Aleister Crowley in 1919 during a mediumistic circle. And if my big head is blocking that, if my big head is blocking his big head, there you go. There's the being. I want to say he had a name, but I forget it offhand. But yeah, so Aleister Crowley did this magic ritual, and this being came through, this interesting being that really does look a lot like the being shared by the Mexican congressman the other day. That seems to be a Nazca mummy. Yeah, and I think it actually looks more like this fella and this fella. The same fella that appeared at a Stephen Greer CE5 event. Now, I give Stephen Greer a lot of crap, and he deserves it because he invalidates the lived experience of millions and millions, likely hundreds of millions of people, according to our best information, the Roper poll done in the 90s about the number of abductions, saying that there are no non-human abductions. That's what Greer says. He says it's all my labs, it's all the military, when clearly they would not be capable of performing hundreds of millions of abductions, most of them performed weekly, monthly, yearly, continuously throughout the abductee or contactee's lives. All without getting caught for the most part. Every now and then there's a mark on somebody's body or something like that where they will be aware that they were taken. But clearly a massive endeavor by the phenomenon, and with a very trippy and people go to other dimensions and things. Deep Prasad talks about this ship materializing around him and him being taken to a deeper level of reality. Whitley Strieber has also said he was taken to a deeper level of reality. That's just the thing. It's not something the military would do. And Greer says that it's all designed to make people fearful of the phenomenon, which is silly because the being is white people's mind. If they wanted you to be fearful of it, they wouldn't wipe your mind so you wouldn't remember what you were scared of. Also, according to our best information from the Edgar Mitchell Foundation, 80% of longtime contactees have a favorable view of their experiences. So again, not designed to evoke fear. So Stephen Greer is full of disinformation, and I have a huge beef with him. But one thing I do like about Stephen Greer, other than him bringing forward fantastic whistleblowers, is his popularizing human-initiated contact with the phenomenon. And I think that's amazing, and that may be our best path forward if government disclosure fails, or even if it doesn't. People, the public, needs to have their own connection to the phenomenon if they so want to. And I only encourage you to do that with love and light and openness, and do not engage with the negative parts of the phenomenon because it is definitely there. So what kind of being did Aleister Crowley summon during a ritual? This fella? Is it the same fella or a similar of the same race that appeared in the CE5 event by Dr. Stephen Greer? Really, really fascinating. For the record, I do think that Stephen Greer has a genuine affinity with the phenomenon, and that his CE5 events, by and large, barring a few flares here and there, are legit experiences. And I think that the reason why he has such an affinity with the phenomenon, well, then it's not a huge stretch to imagine that somebody that has an affinity with the phenomenon and is also an apologist for the phenomenon might have a strong connection, hint, 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 to the phenomenon. But let me know what you think about that, and also this really intriguing comparison between entities. in the comments below. Oh, and because I haven't touched on it before, I got so distracted about all the other exciting things, including the squid UFO, I never really properly talked about the chandelier UFO, people are calling it. To me, that looks way more like a snowflake, but let me know what you think it looks like. Jeremy Corbell says, today we released the image of a military-filmed U.A.P., a still from a video that was filmed over the Persian Gulf. This vehicle of unknown origin had no conventional flight control surfaces and has not been officially designated by the U.S. as a U.A.P. This designation is currently maintained. They're calling it the Chandelier UAP, and it was taken over the Persian Gulf. Imaging type, thermographic forward-looking infrared FLIR. Event description, a short synopsis, can be seen in Part 3 of the UFO Revolution docuseries. More to come, so yeah, go watch Part 3. I wasn't... actually, on, retrospect, I don't dislike the UFO Revolution as much as I did on first viewing. I didn't hate it on first viewing. It was just a lot of old information, and and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's not for me. It's for the newbie audience, and my biggest complaint with the UFO Revolution was, well, I guess two. One, the segment about Jeremy himself, and the other about the Nazca beings. Now, I do think that too much emphasis was put on Jeremy and his backstory, but at the same time, a newbie audience probably doesn't know who Jeremy is and might need an introduction to him. And it's also likely that he did not direct that series himself. He may have just been a producer or a consultant. But I don't know. I don't know if he directed that himself. It did not bear his hallmarks shown in his docs. So I don't know. I don't know. So maybe they can be forgiven for showing him so much. I do still strongly object to their dismissal and derision of the Nazca beings. So mixed bag with the UFO Revolution, but I do think it's generally good for a newbie audience, with a caveat, especially about the Nazca mummies. But they do have the Chandelier UFO featured in episode 3, and that is a really intriguing UFO. And apparently it's not the first of its kind, and I'll have more to share with you about that in a future video. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. Facebook and Twitter links are below. Love to see you guys there. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please consider grabbing a coffee mug or a t-shirt in the merch store below, or by becoming a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you so much. Channel members also frequently get to see videos hours ahead of everybody else. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.